Hello, welcome to Flint, Michigan and the Flint Convening, a blueprint for accelerating outcomes through national service. We're so excited to have you here. How is everyone? Can't hear you. I'm Brooke Bonet, and I serve as the Director of Community Partnerships for Service Year Alliance. I lead our Service Year Impact Communities, which includes having the pleasure of supporting the team in Flint and other outstanding teams featured at the Convening. This week, I get to play the role of MC to make sure you get the most of our time together. I recently celebrated my 4th anniversary with Service Year Alliance. What drew me to this work was my own experience as a Teach for America Americorps member in Baltimore City, and more recently, the 120 vistas that were part of the Obama administration's federal anti-poverty promise zone initiative, where I got to see firsthand that just a handful of core members could be the glue in a comprehensive community development initiative. We're doing things a little differently this year. I'm sure you are as well. Normally, we'd be in Flint, heading out into the community to learn about the Flint National Service Accelerator model. Instead, we're online. I hope that means you have more partners joining you this week. We're going to be recording the broadcast and sessions. So if you have colleagues who couldn't join us, you'll be able to share it after. It's been a hard year. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you and your family and friends are safe and healthy. First, I want to thank the team who made this event possible. We started meeting last December with the Mott Foundation, United Way of Genesee County, Americorps, Voices for National Service, and America Service Commissions to design the event. Service Year Impact Communities, which you'll hear from later today, weighed in on the content. And then the vision that we set with these partners, it wouldn't have become a reality without nearly every staff member at Service Year Alliance. Thank you. Now, let me take a minute to help you make the most of this platform, Hopin. You've all received an email with a Hopin guide that will help you navigate the different spaces we are using. I'll point out a few of the really important pieces. First, right now we're in the main stage. When we are in this space, it will say live, as you can see right now. Later today, we'll be using sessions to do breakout and smaller discussions. And finally, at the end of today, we'll jump into the networking space to connect more informally, face-to-face with everyone, like you would do at an in-person event. You'll also see a tab called Resource Expo, where you can find materials related to what we're covering throughout the event. You can check these out during breaks or at the beginning or end of each day. In the reception area, you'll be able to see the entire schedule for the next 3 days, and you can add specific events to your personal calendar. Next, when you have a moment, please add a photo and contact information to your profile. You can do this by clicking the icon in the top right corner. This allows others to more readily connect with you. And when you click on someone's profile in People, you can directly message them or set up times to meet with them during networking or in the 30 minutes before we get started each day. If you're having trouble accessing anything or have a specific question, please directly message an organizer. You can see Kara Neal, who's monitoring the chat function. Say hi, Kara. And you'll see her on the right there. A note on the chat tool, we'll be using the event chat for the overall logistics and directions on where you should be. And we'll use the stage chat when there are presentations on the main stage. Hopefully you already got a chance to introduce yourself in the chat and share more on why you joined us this week. And now I want to jump into what we're going to be doing. So hopefully I covered the basics. We have a jam-packed agenda for the next few days. Thanks for taking the time from your busy schedules to be here. Today, you'll hear from the Flint team on the fabulous model they've built out over the past decade. And then later, Sonali Nijawan from Americorps, who has roots in leading a place-based national service effort in Stockton, California, will join us. We'll end today in small groups focused on the types of organizations that are leading these initiatives. Whether you align as a nonprofit organization, local government, or a higher education institution, there are Service Year Impact Communities that can share how to structure your efforts in a way that makes sense for your community. We'll also have a funder-only session during this time, and we'll end the day using Hopin's networking feature to get to connect on an individual level. Tomorrow, you'll hear from Anmar Connolly from Voices for National Service about a groundbreaking return on investment study they did on the Flint Collaborative. Hear from a special guest, Senator Chris Coons, and then join a panel with state service commissions. We'll also have breakout sessions on ways communities have come together to support the core member experience, from joint recruitment to career pathways and alumni work. On Thursday, we kick off with Dreama Gentry, who will share more about their work in Appalachian, Kentucky, and how that work is being scaled nationally. You'll also hear from a panel of funders who are investing in national service place-based efforts, and close out with the Mott Foundation and the Mayor of San Jose, California, Sam Liccardo. We've set aside time on Thursday for you to jump into a session room with other leaders from your community for action planning. All right, let's get the show on the road. I'd like to introduce the Chief Strategy Officer for Service Year Alliance, Kristin Bennett. Kristin leads our work to make a service year a common expectation and opportunity for all young Americans. She's been in our organization for 7 years and has spearheaded the development of serviceyear.org. Previously, Kristin was an Americorps program officer with California Volunteers, the State Service Commission. Kristin's also a proud Americorps Vista alum. Welcome, Kristin.
Great. Thank you, Brooke. Hello, everyone. As she mentioned, I'm Kristin Bennett, our Chief Strategy Officer here at Service Year Alliance, and I am thrilled to have you all join us today as we kick off our 3-day Flint Convening, a blueprint for accelerating outcomes through national service. This is an incredibly impressive group of folks joining us this week. You all represent community leaders, nonprofit organizations, and philanthropic funders from over 30 communities across the country. So over the next 3 days, we will hear from leaders about how communities can effectively utilize national service to meet their local needs. In breakout sessions, you will also have the opportunity to hear from the communities that are already doing this work and get to know each other one-on-one during our networking time. We have an incredible lineup, and we are so excited to have you join us. Whether you know about Americorps well, or even if you're just getting started, you will learn more about the powerful potential of engaging people in national service. Before I go any further, I want to take a moment and thank the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation, our co-host for this convening, and specifically Carrie Pardo and Jennifer Akery for your support of this work. Your commitment to the work happening in Flint, as well as for Service Year Alliance's community collaborative efforts, is critical for success. We are incredibly grateful for your leadership and your ongoing passion for national service. I also want to thank our 11 Service Year Impact communities for leading the effort for universal national service in your own communities. Your work is laying the foundation for reaching a shared vision and is an example of how national service could be massively scaled to meet the needs of communities all across the country. As most of you know, Service Year Alliance works to make a year of paid full-time national service, a service year, a common expectation and opportunity for all young Americans. Fundamental to our mission is our belief that service years transform lives, strengthen communities, and fuel civic renewal all at once. No one understands better the power of national service to strengthen communities and meet local needs than all of you here today. So national service is a highly effective form of community development. It is a powerful strategy in a community's toolbox for addressing local needs that range from developing future leaders to increasing a region's economic mobility and supporting talent pipelines into careers, increasing educational attainment and advancement, and supporting disaster preparedness and recovery. National service offers invaluable experiences that support hands-on learning, and in some cases, even workplace credentials that can foster economic development and advance connections to workforce development needs. Over the past 4 years, Service Year Alliance has been working closely with select community collaboratives, our Service Year Impact communities, taking a hands-on approach to helping them craft strategies and create the conditions to scale national service locally. Our impact communities are a diverse network that foster relationships with champions and work to bring universal national service to life in their communities. They develop relationships at the local level to advance national service and share best practices among practitioners, local elected officials, and others in the national service field. These communities are demonstrating that there is a real demand for national service across the country, while becoming models for other local communities of how to make a year of service an opportunity for all young Americans. However, this work would not be possible if it weren't for Flint and the Flint National Service Accelerator, and that's why we are so excited to be highlighting it this week. In 2011, community partners in Flint came together with a vision to use national service to meet local needs. Their work started with an idea, and because of the commitment and leadership in the community, and a willingness to just start meeting to bring this idea to life, the Flint National Service Accelerator was born. The Accelerator is led by the United Way of Genesee County with support from the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation. And having a backbone organization and an initial funder behind an effort to expand and utilize national service was critical to the Accelerator's success. But at its core, Flint was able to grow national service to more than 350 Corps members serving in 2020 because they took initiative. When it felt daunting, they put meetings on the calendar and just started having conversations with local leaders and nonprofit organizations in Flint to better understand how national service could be utilized to lift up the community long term. We know that the past year and a half has been extremely difficult for everyone, especially for local communities. But when we come together to support one another, like programs did through the Flint Accelerator, we are stronger and more impactful. The Flint National Service Accelerator was a big impetus for creating our Impact Community Network. And the success of the Accelerator is something we believe should serve as a model for all communities as they set their sights on utilizing national service. Over the course of this week's convening, we will reflect on the success of the Flint National Service Accelerator and strategize on how to effectively launch, expand, and operate place-based national service initiatives based on this incredibly successful model. The convening will highlight all of the work that has happened over the past decade to make the Flint Accelerator a success, and will feature the work of other communities, such as Philadelphia and Central Texas. We are eager to hear from you all and to jumpstart the work toward universal national service in each of your communities. So with your help, we can grow national service across the country, putting us closer to our vision of making national service part of growing up in America. So now, without further ado, let's get started. I am honored to introduce Ridgway White, President and CEO of the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation. Service Year Alliance is incredibly grateful for the Mott Foundation's generosity and commitment to national service. Ridgway, we look forward to hearing from you and about the Foundation's experience with the Flint Accelerator. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristin. Hello, everyone, and welcome, at least virtually, to Flint. We're excited that you're here with us so we can learn together how the communities around the country can leverage the power of national service to help solve local problems and meet local needs. Today, you'll hear a lot about the Flint National Service Accelerator model. You'll be able to kick the tires, ask tough questions, and see how the Flint approach could help inform a vision of national service for your own community. But before we dive in, I want to give thanks to the many people who drive this work forward every day and who have made this convening possible. First and foremost, thanks to the Americorps members who served in Flint and Genesee County and those who are serving now. Thanks to the United Way of Genesee County and the Flint National Service Accelerator staff and all of the local community host sites. You're making an enormous difference. Thanks to the Michigan Service Commission and Americorps, whose collaboration has been essential to the Accelerator's success. And a huge thanks to Service Year Alliance and your partners for putting together this convening. The Flint National Service Accelerator started as a small pilot by community partners with a big vision. Community leaders, 4 local nonprofits, and the Mott Foundation were inspired by the potential of national service to boost the capacity of local nonprofits and help them tackle issues that matter most to Genesee County. And there was momentum. The city had undertaken a process to create a comprehensive master plan, which reflected widespread community input. The plan's priorities: education, public safety, rebuilding neighborhoods, and fighting blight became a roadmap for the Accelerator. Local leaders set an initial goal of growing the number of Americorps members in Flint to 250 annually by 2019, a 10-fold increase from the baseline. By 2018, the Accelerator had crushed that goal, engaging 457 members in service throughout the city. It did that by welcoming Corps members from around the country and staying hyper-local. Over 75% of Americorps members serving Flint are from the Flint and Genesee County community. Most important, the model works. In 2019 alone, NCCC members served more than 10,000 hours in Flint. They sorted and distributed more than 16,000 pounds of food and supported more than 1,000 students through educational programs. They removed over 113,000 pounds of debris, trash, and vegetation, and they boarded up hundreds of abandoned houses. they made a difference. On average, the Blight Project areas saw a 10% reduction in crime. And the Accelerator has been nimble and adaptive, making sure service members are on the ground and on the front lines in times of crisis. In 2016, in response to the water crisis, NCCC teams brought in by the United Way of Genesee County and the local Red Cross were among the very first groups to arrive in Flint. They leapt into action, distributing bottled water, filters, and test kits, and coordinating volunteers. And that year alone, 2 NCCC teams distributed more than 13,000 cases of water. And again, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Corps members joined the ranks of first responders. They served with the Genesee County Health Department at local vaccine clinics, distributed thousands of pounds of food, and helped their host sites provide essential services to the community. With that kind of agility, the Accelerator is well prepared to engage national service to support local recovery and rebuilding following the pandemic. National service is also highly cost-effective, and the Accelerator multiplies its value. For all the funders joining us today, know that the role you play in supporting initiatives like this can be crucial. And if you want to know more about impact, listen to the words of 2 service members who have worked in Flint. Janae Toney was 21 when she became the first Americorps member to serve at the Flint Development Center. She said, "I want to make a difference and see change. I grew up around the corner, walking through Forest Park. So seeing my community come back together is why I love being a part of this program." And Catherine Kuhn discovered a passion for working with kids through her service as an Americorps NCCC member in Flint. Now she's an Americorps Vista member with the Pennsylvania Statewide National After-School Network. Catherine said, "Know that you have the power to create change, even though it can feel so overwhelming, or you can feel so small at times. It'll be one of the best experiences of your life." I want to thank all of you for being here and bringing your own power to create change. We hope these next few days will provide tools, ideas, and inspiration to bring your vision of service to life in your own communities. And we're here to help. I'm delighted to announce Mott has awarded funding to Service Year Alliance to launch National Service Community Challenge grants, with 4 grants of $25,000 each for those that can secure matching funds. You'll hear all about this opportunity from Carrie Pardo later this afternoon. For now, let's kick things off by learning a little more about the Flint Accelerator. Please roll the video.
At Service Year Alliance, we believe national service is a powerful tool for communities to address local needs. We have been working closely with select community collaboratives, taking a hands-on approach to helping them craft strategies and create the conditions to scale national service locally. A great example of utilizing national service at the local level is Flint, Michigan. In 2011, community partners in Flint came together with a vision of leveraging national service to address local needs. In order to add capacity to local organizations across the city and open pathways to careers, Flint turned to national service. They set a goal of expanding the number of National Service Corps members in Flint to 250 by 2019, a 10-fold increase from the baseline to address education, health, safety, and neighborhood development. To reach that goal, they created the Flint National Service Accelerator, a community initiative intended to help strengthen and expand national service and deploy it effectively to achieve community-wide goals. Led by the United Way of Genesee County and supported by the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation, the Accelerator brings together the various national service programs under one coordinated effort. This effort is led by a civic engagement manager, a full-time staff person who provides support for organizations and Corps members and creates a culture of service across programs and throughout the community. The Accelerator works to amplify the collective impact of national service in the Flint community. Today, more than 40 organizations host Service Year Corps members in Flint. And in 2020, more than 350 National Service Year Corps members were on the ground, meeting the needs of Flint residents. A critical goal of the Accelerator is to remove the financial barriers to local nonprofits to host National Service Corps members. Once Service Year Corps members are placed with an organization in the community, the Accelerator provides monthly professional development, trainings, and other supports to make sure each Corps member has a successful service year experience. This was all made possible with support from the Mott Foundation, and their grant dollars were put to good use. A recent study found that for every dollar invested in national service programs in Flint, there was a return of $27 to the federal government, Corps members, and society. That's more than twice as effective as regular national service programs. This unique approach has led to tremendous results and is being looked upon as a model for other communities. Whether you are a philanthropic leader or a community member, join us in bringing this vision to life in your neighborhood, city, or state by becoming a Service Year Impact Community. Learn more about Flint's efforts and how to make national service a shared expectation in your community. www.serviceyearalliance.org/impact-communities.
What a great video. And thank you, Ridgeway, for your continued support of the team in Flint and nationally. Now that you've had a glimpse of what the Flint National Service Accelerator is, we're going to take a deep dive with some members of the team who helped to create the Accelerator and hear from a four-time Americorps member who has been serving in Flint, Michigan. Our moderator today for this next panel is a friend of Service Year Alliance, Kyle Caldwell. Kyle began his tenure as president and CEO of the Council of Michigan Foundations in 2018, bringing more than 25 years of government, nonprofit, and philanthropic sector experience to the position. Prior to his appointment, Kyle ran the Connect Michigan Alliance, which created a $20 million endowment to support volunteerism. He also served as the director of the Pathways to Opportunity program at the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation, where he helped to evolve the foundation's approach to addressing poverty to focus on education. Earlier in his career, Kyle served as the executive director of the Michigan Community Service Commission and as the chair of America's Service Commissions, where he first became a champion for national service. So I'm happy now to welcome Kyle.
Great. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now? Great, thanks. Sorry for that audio mix-up, and thank you for that great introduction. Welcome, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Kyle Caldwell. I'm with the Council of Michigan Foundations, but prior to that, I was a program director with the CS Mott Foundation, working on their education program. And part of the work that I was able to do was to help understand how national service could be a multiplier effect in community problem solving. And in Flint, we were concerned about human capital and how do we think about the best ways to bring residents together to solve the most critical issues for them. Clearly, national service was a potential tool, but what we knew was it takes capacity, it takes leverage of capital, both human and financial capital, and a very sophisticated way to think about how national service can make the most powerful impact. And so we amplified a concept of not only leveraging national service dollars to come into Flint, but also building out a program that provides support to the nonprofits, support to the members, support to the community, for them to understand how national service can scale. and I'm proud of the great work that the Flint community has done and that you'll hear about later on here today. But there's also another element that's unique to this accelerator model, and that is the interweaving between community, government, nonprofits, and philanthropy. The accelerator stood in the middle of all of those and tried to braid together both people's intent, resources, and curiosity so that they could be a more effective community problem-solving tool. And of course, that became essential as the initial accelerator model was really focused on education. But with the Flint water crisis and some of the other challenges we saw coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic and what we're still dealing with today, human capital accelerated towards community problem solving using national service as a tool has proven to be a highly effective and productive model. And we'll talk about that in a moment. I had the privilege of also providing a forum here that to have others talk about the work that's on the ground, and I'll be sort of moderating those conversations. And in a moment, I'll let each of the speakers who will be joining us today introduce themselves and give a little background about who they are. But before we do that, just wanted to let everyone know that we'll be having a chat with everyone here on our panel. If you have questions, please put them in the chat and we'll be sure to try to answer them as we go along. So first, I want to offer our panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves. First up, we're going to have Tazuri Robinson, Boys and Girls Club of Greater Flint.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tazari Robinson. I'm the CEO here at the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Flint. We are a youth-based organization here in Flint, Michigan, operating 2 locations in the city, serving young people between the ages of 7 and 17, with a focus on academic success, character and leadership, and healthy lifestyles. And we have partnered with the Accelerator and National Service. I've been with the organization since 2009. We've been an Americorps Vista site, as well as a partner with the Accelerator, I think, since its infancy early in 2011. So happy to be here.
Great to have you. We're going to now go to the philanthropy side of this partnership, and Jennifer Akery from the CS Mott Foundation.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Akery, and I'm a program officer at the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation. So I am the program officer that actually works on the Accelerator. So I really want to appreciate all of the funders who have joined us today and will join us over the next couple of days. I hope that you're able to take away some good kernels of information to think about this work in your own community. I also want to thank everybody who joined us today. As you heard, this has been a long time in the planning, so we're excited that folks have joined us and are interested in hearing more about our model. I'm looking forward to learning more about the other models across the country and what we can learn from them. So I hope we're all able to take away a little bit. But most importantly, I really want to thank the members who serve in Flint and the host sites like Tazari and the Boys and Girls Club, as well as the many agencies across the community and across the country who understand the importance of this work. And that also goes to the United Way of Genesee County and their leadership on this initiative and this model of national service. So I want to thank everybody again and look forward to meeting many of you over the course of the next couple of days, even though we're going to need to do that virtually.
Thanks, Jennifer. And we're going to go now to Jamie Lee Venable at the United Way of Genesee County.
Hello, Jamie Lee Venable, and I'm the Vice President over here at the United Way, and I have the pleasure of being the backbone organization for the Accelerator and getting to see how this works when you bring the partners together, to see the members grow. It's super exciting. I think out of everyone, I have the funnest job on this panel, but we'll get into that a little bit more.
Great. So I'd almost agree with you, except that the one person who's missing, who's the star of the show for this panel, is Devin Walker. She's a 4-year Americorps member, and she's part of the cohort of getting GEDs with the group of parents that started out in Americorps service. She's now working with the community through Educare Flint and the Cummings Great Expectations program, engaging parents. And she's also pursuing a social work degree. So she is a dynamo. If you haven't seen her, I know there was a profile done of her on the CS Mott Foundation website. If you search on their website, you can hear her great testimony about the work that she's done. We're having some technical difficulties right now, so we'll try to bring her on. Believe me, she's worth the wait. She tells a very compelling story. So I will proceed with the program, and then we'll bring Delvin in when our technical difficulties are resolved. So Jamie Lee, I want to just kind of ground everybody, if we can, and have you help us, you and Jennifer both, about explaining what is the National Service Accelerator and what is the context and how it came about.
So the idea of the Accelerator is to really support both members and also the community that the members are in. And so how this all came to be was, Flint, much like many towns, has had a lot of growth and a lot of shrinkage and a lot of economic issues. And so while the city was working through some things, businesses were coming together, the Mott Foundation, everybody was coming together to bring the city back kind of from the last recession. It was, where are the gaps and who can help with the gaps? And we had a bunch of people that had backgrounds in service that said, Americorps can fill in the gaps. Let's see how we can do this. And so, but it needed to be more than that. It needed to be more than just bringing Americorps members into the fold. It really needed to be supporting the members and supporting the host sites that the members were at to really work through that. And so that's kind of the premise of how this all got started. And we also came at it as, we really want to focus on bringing Americorps members from the community. We didn't want to bring external folks into Flint. We wanted to use this opportunity to give Flint students and Flint parents and just Flint residents in general the opportunity to serve in a unique way. And that was the premise of how this all began, is we've got gaps, we've got people, and how can we make this happen in a unique way? And that's where the Mott Foundation came in and helped us get it moving.
Thanks, Jamie Lee. I appreciate that tee up. Going back to what Jamie Lee had said, part of the impetus for this program was a recognition by some local leaders that Flint was not taking advantage of the national service model, that there were opportunities that local nonprofits could tap into national service, but capacity was a real issue, both capacity in terms of the organizations needing increased human capacity and assistance within their organization, but also capacity to navigate the national service universe, if you will. So as many of the folks on this panel know, national service is not my background. My background is capacity building and understanding community needs and how to match some of the resources with those needs. And so at the time that the Accelerator came about, there was, an executive director. He's actually now the executive director of the United Way, and at that time was at the Boys and Girls Club. He had both been a member himself and seen firsthand as an organizational leader the opportunities that national service presents. And with that, also approached the CS Mott Foundation, as well as a couple of other community leaders, to see what could be done to help bring more national service members to Flint. And from there, as you'll continue to hear throughout this panel, the Accelerator sort of took on a life of its own and has continued to develop and grow over time, to the point where we have outstanding national service members like Delvin, who really are what this work is all about.
Great, thanks. And Delvin, I'm going to come to you in just a minute. So welcome. Glad you're here. Tazari, I want to come to you for a question, and then I'm going to come back to Delvin. And Delvin, when we get to you, you can introduce yourself, and then I'll queue up a question for you, if that's okay. Wonderful. Great to see you. So Tazari, your organization is one of the first to benefit from the model that we're all exploring today. So walk us through just a little bit about from your perspective, from an organization that's trying to figure out how to leverage human capital, is trying to figure out how a national service program works, and bringing that into your organization, how has the Accelerator helped propel your mission?
Yeah, so I mean, there are a number of ways. First and foremost, I definitely think that human capital piece and really building our organization's capacity. The Accelerator has been there from the very start in terms of recruitment of community members to serve at the Boys and Girls Club, to training, to even identifying funding opportunities. One member in particular, I remember, came to our organization a few years ago, moved from the West Coast, but was passionate about serving in Flint and passionate about serving at the Boys and Girls Club. He had, no idea where to go in terms of where to live, or, what to do in terms of making his rent and things like that. And the Accelerator was able to partner with the club to reach out to the University of Michigan Flint and actually get that member housing and a stipend to help support his living costs as well. So, that has really enabled us to cast a wider net, make sure our members come in, if they're from out of the community or from within the community, they have the training available to them, as well as that built-in network of other service members throughout the community. They have the monthly networking opportunities that, members take advantage of, as well as some of our supervisors take advantage of, and we're able to coordinate with other, national service members who may be at other organizations to come into our facility and into our program to provide programming to support youth, which just builds our capacity and enables us to serve more kids. Without the support that we receive from, Americorps Vista Summer Associates, our summer program wouldn't be what it is. Traditionally, prior to COVID, we would serve, 250 young people at our main unit and about another 100 to 150 at our extension site. We wouldn't be able to do that without recruiting, 20 to 25 Americorps Summer Associates to support that increased capacity. And that was, really driven not only by our staff, but really driven by the Accelerator being able to get out there and promote those opportunities in the community. And promoting it in the community, as was mentioned earlier, it brings those people who live in our community into our organization as service members, which has had a tremendous impact on the young people that we serve. And it's created a culture of service amongst the kids. We've had a number of young people who have been able to, form relationships with our Vista members or form relationships with those NCCC members. And they've gone on to, participate in Americorps, or that, whether it's NCCC or Vista, we've had members come back to us and serve as adults. So it's created that culture and really just kind of changed the way that we're able to do things and just enhance the culture amongst our organization, and really had a tremendous impact on the kids.
Great, thank you. And it's great to know how it's impacted the kids in the community and how the volunteers have been leveraged. And speaking of the volunteers who have been part of this program, Delvin Walker is joining us. And Delvin, I did a short introduction to you, but why don't you introduce yourself to the folks that are here, and then after you do that, just give us a sense of what's been your experience and what it's been like to be part of the Accelerator and impart your national service experience. We're all champions of national service, so we'd love to hear from you. You're on mute, I think. No. Not yet.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. Thank you guys for being here. I'm Delvin Walker. I am a 4-year service member with Americorps. This is so exciting to me. Thank you guys. I'm a mother of two. How I got the chance and the great opportunity to become an Americorps service member is that I was in a cohort of women in a family literacy program. And I was going to be in this program to obtain my GED. I met Janelle Jamerson, which was my ED at my first site at the Flint and Genesee Literacy Network. I served there for 3 years. And currently I'm at Educare and Cummings, Great Expectations, which are both early learning centers addressing food insecurities for parents and families of the school, also doing some family engagement and community engagement. But the real reason why I joined Americorps, at first you see an opportunity. I was a single mom. I didn't have my high school diploma or GED, and I've seen a way to get that. And so after being in the cohort, I was asked to become a service member. Didn't know what Americorps was, had never heard of Americorps. The closest thing I had got to Americorps was Peace Corps and City Year. And so when I was asked to join by Janelle, of course I took it. It was an opportunity to make a stipend, a little bit of money to bring home. And I just wanted to really know what it was not to be self-employed, because that's what I was. For many, many years, I was a nail technician and self-employed. But through Americorps, I was able to not only study for my GED at my site, because my service site was so great. They made sure I had a tutor. And but I was able to obtain my GED. And being a part of Americorps I've been in so many different spaces that I would never have been in if it wasn't for Americorps. I've become a national speaker through my service site. I've also gotten an award for being the Adult Learner of the Year, which was the Ruth J. Colvin Award. I just being able to network with a group of people through the National Accelerator, our Accelerator meetings, being able to actually know exactly what other Americorps members are doing at their site and being familiar with that and being able to share the resources that I have from my site. It's an awesome opportunity. And now that I have my GED, I'm now going to college to be a social worker and hoping that I can help my community. It gave me a sense of not only being a part of a community that was going through a crisis. I started off with Flint Recovery Corps, which is now Flint Urban Safety and Health Corps. I was the first inductee there. So I always feel like there would be no Recovery Corps if it wasn't for LaDelvin. But I don't know if that's the story. But as time went on, leading now, I can say that it not only changed my sense of service, but also I was able to take my children to days of service. So now they have my 7-year-old. He's always wanting to make sure that we do MLK Day. Mom, let's go make food for other families. In any type of service that I'm able to bring them to, I emerge my children in service now. And so my little one's been in service since he was 4. He's now 7. So just to know that it's generational and that you can not only be a part of something that's bigger than you. Not only did I serve at the Flint and Genesee Literacy Network, now I'm on their steering committee. I sit on some parent panels that I am able to help my community with as far as the water crisis and bring up new public policies and from the top to the bottom. But I started at Americorps. It all started with Americorps. And so I'm privileged, I would say. It's not just my story. It is an Americorps story. Thank you.
Thank you, Delvin. I'll just confess to the audience here. We did a little run through rehearsal, and I was supposed to be taking notes and just trying to figure out how to facilitate the conversation. And then when you and I met virtually like this, my notes stopped, my pen stopped, and it's because the story that you're telling is exactly what many who started the whole national service movement had hoped for. Maybe someone would get service experience. Maybe someone would get community engagement opportunities. Maybe someone would get an education opportunity. Maybe it would be generational. Maybe they would think of this as a start, not a destination. And your story tells it all. So I think for everybody here, thank you for your service, and thank you for letting us, be a part of your story. I'm going to come back to you in a little bit to share some other thoughts, but I want to turn to Jamie Lee and Jennifer. So help us understand how this works. And then there must have been an evolution. This didn't happen overnight. There wasn't a magic concept and then deployment. So give us a sense of the journey.
So Jamie Lee, can I kick us off, and I'll turn it over to you, because I think that is so important. Every community is going to have a unique story, and there was definitely for us some serendipity along the way, but every community has a way to get to this type of work. And as we talked about early on, this accelerator actually started at the Boys and Girls Club with an executive director who saw that Flint was not maximizing national service for so many organizations in Flint who could utilize additional manpower and who wanted to provide opportunities to local residents to develop skills and honestly to grow the pipeline of folks who could work within nonprofits and government organizations in the community. So that sort of just notion of an idea by this executive director who had a relationship with the Mott Foundation, he came to the foundation where there was some existing knowledge about national service and all the ways that you could leverage national service, and looked at, what was the biggest barrier for organizations to participate in national service. And the two things that came up over and over again were the match for member match for stipends for serving, as well as just the capacity to navigate the national service universe as the ecosystem, if you will. And so as a result of that, that's where we started to have conversations about what would it look like if we could help initially provide some fairly modest support to fund a person who could help navigate the technical side of this, and then to provide some dollars initially for matching the stipends. And so, as Kyle said, I mean, that's where we started. And then as it became clear that the opportunities were almost limitless, not quite, but there certainly was a lot of opportunity, including what you heard from Delvin. You'll hear more from Jamie Lee and others about is building out that member support and host site support piece beyond just applying for members and getting them in the door. That certainly wasn't enough. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Jamie Lee and the leadership that they have provided in really being able to kind of be a one-stop shop for national service in Flint.
This has clearly evolved over time. When we started this, we had a lot of great external forces working to our advantage as well, right? So we had the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club who had been a member, could see where this was needed. We had a community that needed help, that there was a lot of shrinking resources and needed to go about that. But then at the same time, we also had a mayor coming in who was also familiar with service and had been a member himself. And so we were able to take all of these things and really look at, how can we do this? How can we move forward? How can we really put it together? And we went to the city and we had been in and out of emergency management through the course of this time, but we still had the core. And it was like, okay, we know we've got people that see Americorps as a way to fill in a lot of the gaps. What are the gaps? We think we knew what the gaps were, but looking for Flint residents and for municipality to tell us what the gaps were. And also serendipitous at the same time, the city was undertaking the first master plan it had done in years. And so we really thought a minute, like, wait a minute, if this is already engaging the community, and they were having, planning meetings all through the different neighborhoods of the city to help the city municipality really raise up what are the issues that the community needs as part of this master plan. The master plan was created, and that's when we said, look, we're going to tie everything we do in the accelerator to moving the master plan forward. And we are going to look up that master plan, look at what the municipality is already offering, look at what businesses are offering, what is the Mott Foundation and other foundations in the community doing to support, and where can we put in Americorps. We started very small with this idea to grow it by tenfold in a few years. And then again, Operation Americorps happened, and we were really able, we had the base, we had the partners already at the table. And so when that project came down the pike, we had the right players. It wasn't easy, but we were able to look at this program where it was bringing state members and VISTA members and national members and NCCC kind of all together and going, okay, how can we use this? How can we bring this all together? But having those partnerships and those relationships already together, we were able to knock out a proposal and come up with a strategy. And the accelerator helped drive that whole initiative and still drives it. We bring the partners together. We bring the resources from the Mott Foundation together. And that's really where that started. And as we started growing the members, and we went from 15 members to 30 members to 100 members to 250 members, we thought, well, hold on a second. This isn't just about supporting the gaps in the community. We see where we're bringing us. I told you before, we were really focused on highlighting Flint residents as part of the AmeriCorps program. We need to help the members themselves. Like, we had put so much focus in getting the plans off the ground, getting the Boys and Girls Clubs, the site supervisors all educated, but we hadn't done as much around how do we help the member? And that's probably the biggest piece that the accelerator does right now is professional development of the member, connecting them to resources so that they can grow and that they can be successful. And by some grace from somewhere, Delvin has decided to stay with us through the whole time. And we keep getting that retention, I think, because of that support, where Delvin, as she mentioned, she got her GED and now she's in school, and she could have said, you know what, I've done my term, I'm out. But she came back. And that's one thing that we really started to see was the investment in the member was more important than the investment we needed to place in the site supervisor and the host sites. And that's where we started this journey of bringing up the host sites, bringing the Mott Foundation dollars to help match it. And probably, 3/4 of the way through, we put a pause on it and said, now let's put the majority of our resources actually into the members themselves.
So thank you both. Tazari, I want to come to you and just talk about what that support for scale look like, scaling from a member perspective, from an organizational capacity perspective, and anything else that the accelerator sort of brings to amplify your organization's work. And then we're going to come to Delvin after that.
Yeah, I want to piggyback a little bit off of how Jamie Lee ended it, and actually looking back at it and thinking about it. We have 8 staff member leadership team, whether it's running the programs, writing our grants, at least 50% of those individuals who are serving in leadership at our organization are former national service members. Our unit director served as an Americorps member with our organization, our director of grants and public relations. She started as an Americorps member in 2010 and worked with our organization, serving in two terms. So, building those members in that professional development, that's really where the legacy building comes in, right? Because those people have now not only served their term, whether it was 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, if we're lucky to find a Delvin, 4 terms. But, we've been able to, work with the Accelerator, make sure they're getting developed, and then cultivate that talent and retain them to then join our organization as professionals and serve and build our program out and help, make it grow, and that's really amazing, especially talking a little bit about, some of those young people that we've seen serve this summer. We have one young man who, I was here on his very first day as a 6-year-old, as a club member. And he is now 18 years old, and he is serving with our organization as a summer associate. So, developing those members and providing that professional development opportunity has been instrumental in terms of making sure not only does that talent, get cultivated, but they stay in our community with our organizations doing the great work that they're doing. So wanted to focus on that. And really just, from a scaling standpoint, starting at the very beginning with our organization, really just looking at one form of national service, which was Americorps, which was where we had most of our Vista, where we've had most of our experience. And then looking at, opportunities for NCCC members, looking at opportunities for Americorps state members, looking at other organizations. Again, Food Corps once, we got our gardening program off the ground. The Accelerator has been right there, with its leadership, asking us in our conversations, what's next for the Boys and Girls Club? Where are we going? What does it need to look like? And what do we need to make sure we're thinking of as we look forward to make our organization reach the next level? And that's been really instrumental from us from a training standpoint for our members, to those networking opportunities, to, things like the MLK Day project that we all do every year here in the city. The Accelerator has been really great in terms of having those lines of communication open with us and working hand in hand to make sure whatever their plans are align with what our plans are, so that we can kind of walk lockstep together to that next, frontier or whatever that may be.
Thank you. Liddell, we've got a number of questions in coming in, and one of them I want to ask you about, and then Jamie, Lee, and Jen, I want to come to you about the match. There's a couple questions about how to meet match. So, Liddell, help me understand what, for you, as a person who was living in the community, how was your role helping reach into communities and get members more aware of all the benefits of national service, and how you became aware of national service? And then how did it, if you're comfortable, did national service and the stipend help and healthcare help make this affordable for you? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I sure can. Thank you. So, of course, like I always, national service chose me. I didn't choose national service. But in that, I did not only get the professional development that I need, like knowing how a nonprofit works, knowing how funding works, how to write a grant. I wouldn't have gotten that anywhere else but Americorps. The stipend helped not only financially, but my education award, I can use it when I go in to do my bachelor's in social work. And the social work came along. I wanted to be a mortician, guys. Social work came along when I became a service member. I want to serve my community in a different way, on a higher level than what I can as a service member. So Americorps not only changed me in a way, but it transformed my life into what I wanted to do with myself. Not knowing exactly what you want to be when you grow up, and being a grown up is a hard place to be. And so just having the connections and being connected to Jamie Lee, and it was one time I needed a plane ticket. Like, hey, they want me to come to this national event, and I reached out to the United Way and Americorps, and they helped me get there to do what I was asked to do, to be on that panel for that national event. And you can't get that anywhere. The help that you get from your service site, your director over your program, and the accelerator in a whole, like it's wonderful. And so, yes, the stipend did help. And not only did the stipend help me, I was able to, until I was able to get on my feet, still keep my benefits that I had going on with the state, and so that is the one thing about Americorps. Yes, you come in and you get a stipend, a living allowance, but the outcome of it, getting your education award, being able to go to school, being able to purchase a computer if you need it, those are the things that a lot of families living in Flint don't have the privy to. And I came in on the end of the water crisis. So not only was I going through a crisis, I was helping my community come out of a crisis. And I still strive to do that every single day, help someone get out of a crisis, whether it's the water crisis or some other just resource that they may need. That's how I became the resource lady, being an Americorps service member.
That's great. Thank you. It's great to hear your story and how it played out, how it's playing out. Jamie Lee and Jennifer, talk to us a little bit about some of the mechanics that many national service grantees or prospective applicants go through, and that is finding the match dollars to make the program work. How is this structured in the Accelerator, and how is it played out for the nonprofits and philanthropy?
So I'll start us off, and Jamie Lee can talk a lot about the specifics of how it works. But again, I want to reiterate to those of you that are watching that you can start this model at any scale, right? Some communities might decide to focus on, funding an organization that can help on the recruitment and professional development side, but may not be able to help with the match side of things, or helping with coordinating service projects. There are a number of ways to get started. And not everybody will be able to support this. Not all funders will be able to support this work at the level that we are currently at. And I say that because we started, it has changed over time as the Accelerator has grown. And I want to go back to the video that you saw before this panel that showed that the Accelerator has demonstrated a 27-to-1 return on investment in terms of the work that the Accelerator does and how it gives back to the community in multiple ways. And so, the Accelerator started out with a grant of, less than $100,000 to help figure out that technical assistance side and some of those supports with match for just a couple of organizations. To today, we are we fund over $500,000 towards some of the staffing at the United Way, as well as some of the match dollars. But again, there is scalability within this model, and any community can start in a different place or in one place and not have to take on all of that work initially. So I hope those of you who are funders who are also watching, there are a number of ways that you can participate in an initiative like this, and we just happen to be able to do to be the primary funding partner in this particular initiative at a larger scale, because we've been at it for a while, but we did not start there and may not have gone on if we didn't see the results over time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie Lee.
So there's multiple pieces in the match piece, or the fund as we call it, the Accelerator fund, and just the Accelerator initiative in general. And so our Accelerator manager, Katie, really works with the host sites. So they work with Tazari, identify what is it they need. In some cases, in a Tazari's case, he's well versed in what he needs on Americorps and has been using them. And he needs this, X, Y, and Z members from this program. And this is the match that the Boys and Girls Club is going to be required. So they submit a request to Katie, and Katie makes sure that they have all their ducks in a row. They've got the right amount of members, that the budget makes sense. And we provide the funding to the Boys and Girls Club for that cost share match of the member. Then we also have a bucket that we do on the professional development support, and really looking at what do members need. And topics, some of our most successful topics have been around grant writing and teaching the members how to write grants for their projects. We use the fund as kind of mini grants as well. So we put the members through a training. It could be a 4 or 5 part series. And at the end of it, we'll give them a mini grant that they have to write to us as practice for their host site or for their service project or whatever it is that they're doing. And so there's that component. And then we also do, a lot of work with the host sites themselves. And so we'll go in with the Tazaris of the world and making sure they understand what a member can and cannot do. We make sure that they are getting what they need from the member. And if the member is lacking something, we'll bring that back to the professional development, because chances are if that member is lacking something at the Boys and Girls Club, probably a member in another space needs that same kind of support. And it could be as simple as soft skills, communicating. How do you bring volunteers together? How do you communicate to volunteers when you're hosting them? How do you connect with a parent in a different way? So it can be as simple as those soft skill type trainings. And then we also have a little bit of funding that we use for more of those kind of basic needs support systems with the member themselves. So Delvin touched on needing a plane ticket to attend this training because she was going to be the guest speaker. We have supported mileage support. We have done some housing situations, transportation, just all of those pieces. And all of that kind of all comes through the Accelerator manager, who helps look at that, works with each individual site. She's on site with the host sites often. She's on site with the members often in a normal non-COVID world, right? But even during COVID, we were having constant Zoom meetings and conversations with what do people need? What are you lacking? We put together even just kind of fun kits for members as appreciation activities. And then all of this culminates with Life After Americorps Day. And we do that in the spring. It's about, midway through a lot of people's services. Some are wrapping up. But we spend the whole day doing, what are you going to do after AmeriCorps? And we bring in speakers from businesses. We've even had Peace Corps speakers come in because maybe they want to transition to something else. HR speakers. This is what it looks like when you interview in a world. Because again, getting back to that focus of developing the member themselves. And so that's really how that works. It's all based within the United Way, within the conversations that our Civic Engagement Accelerator manager, Katie, has with both the members and the host sites, kind of working through that. And every day something new can come up, a new topic that we didn't know about, and always trying to meet people where they are, or being out in the community and hearing about a project that's coming up. The first thing that's on everybody at the United Way's brain is, how can we get an AmeriCorps member in there? And how can we show you how you can use an AmeriCorps member in a way that you didn't use them before? But that's just kind of the mentality that we have, and that's how it works.
So let's touch on a couple things while we've got the two of you, Jennifer and Jamie Lee, together. So what we've talked about so far are all, successes. So when something goes wrong, what happens and how do you all deal with it? And as someone who represents well over 300 philanthropic organizations in Michigan, I'm painfully aware that when things go wrong, the dialogue between a funder and a nonprofit doesn't always become as transparent because you're concerned about looking good in front of your funder. And same thing from the funder. You really want to know the bad news, but you have some accountabilities to think about and steward the fund. So how do you deal with that?
I'd like to say that all of our members are like Delvin and all of our host sites are like Tazari, but that's not always the case. You're absolutely right, Kyle. And so again, that's where the Accelerator comes in. No matter if the Accelerator placed a member at that host site, because the United Way runs its own program, of which Delvin is a part of through the Accelerator, the Flint Urban Safety Corps that she talked about. that is what Katie's role is. That is what that accelerator's role is, to help navigate what is the conflict with the host site, what is the conflict with the member, or what is the conflict with the host site and the community. We've had that as well, where there was some confusion on what the host site and the member was doing in a particular neighborhood. And Katie's role is really to almost act as that mediator. She comes in with, these are the laws that we have to follow from the Americorps side, but then here are some, neighborhood engagement activities that she also recognizes, and really function as that mediator role. And when we have some, major issues, obviously we have a great relationship with the Mott Foundation, and you have to kind of get past that. Like, we might look foolish and we don't want to pull all the skeletons out of our closet, but if we don't kind of come forward with that at the beginning, it's going to come out at some point. So we're actually pretty vocal about that after the mediation of whatever Katie or the United Way couldn't handle. Hey, Mott Foundation, just heads up, this is going on. We also have that relationship with the city. This is 98% of the work we do with Americorps is in the city of Flint. And so the city knows what's happening. The city knows where these members are. They might not know all the ins and outs of it, but they're familiar with, if it's an Americorps member, okay, well, hold on, let's talk to the United Way before we get all, squirrely on what might be happening.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, I think it's true that the United Way and the Mott Foundation, had a good relationship going into this program, but at the same time, you constantly have to build that trust and that relationship over time as well. And so I think part of the way that we look at this program and this funding is that, we are, sort of making it up as we go along. This is a unique model. So there are going to be things along the way that need to be adjusted and lessons learned and regrouping. And we want, what we hope as the funder is that the United Way, the grantee, has that same interest. And so when things aren't going well, they're gonna pull in all their resources to say, well, we've been worried about this. What do you guys think? There have been various advisory groups over, not only on the member side, which Delvin is a part of the leadership council for members. So members are weighing in on what's working and what's not, but on sort of that upper level, view of the community, whether you're talking about the city or some of the other major institutional partners. And we were all interested in seeing it be the best that it can be, but open to the fact that there is no blueprint for this either, right? We're all trying to learn. And to Jamie Lee's point, there have been 3 changes in the mayoral administration through this. So that also requires that some of the core partners are, continue to communicate through those transitions where there might need to be help in and understanding the accelerator and its model, or all the ways that the community can benefit from this work. We're all there at the table to help lift up the successes and where there may be gaps that need to be filled in terms of how the model works. But I think it is important to your point, Kyle, that it really is truly a partnership. And so I think we've got to be open to picking up that call. It's not, I'm a former grantee of the Mott Foundation and myself. So, I've been on the other side of that table. Of course, that accountability factor is very important. And I look forward to some of the other sessions we have coming up over the next couple of days to talk about the funder side of this and some of the things that we've talked about internally at the foundation about this work and this kind of approach, and types of questions you might get from everything from your president, CEO, all the way up to your trustees, and how you help tell this story effectively. But our partners on the ground make it easy to do by both doing the work well and also adapting as things need to be adapted.
Thanks. Cesare, I'm going to come to you. This was a question I think was pointed at Jamie Lee, but I think it might be equally appropriate for you to touch on what strategies and practices have been important to ensure that the core members' experience is really centered in the work and what's happening in Flint. And maybe you can even talk about, the profile of members. Are these Are these folks coming from outside of Flint or in Flint? Just give us a flavor of how that work is centered in the member experience.
Yeah, so the majority of the members come from the community, and not only do they come from the community, but they represent, all the different demographics. We have parents, we have program participants, we have youth who have come, through our programs and other organizations as well, who go on to serve as members. And they bring a really unique perspective. We have learned a lot in terms of bringing members on to serve and build capacity programmatically, with the goal of bringing in additional partners, bringing in additional volunteers to help enhance the work that we do. I mentioned we focus on three main things, but there's so many other opportunities to work with young people in our organization. And our members are able to take the perspectives that they see in their neighborhoods and their homes to our organization to say, hey, I'm a parent and my child is struggling with, mathematics or with literacy. And so I really want to make sure in this role as an academic success, Americorps Vista member, I'm able to help, bring X, Y, and Z. So we're able to look at that VAD that they have at the very beginning and, really have that open line of communication to say, hey, these are some of the things that we see from our perspective as the host site. But what do you see, from your perspective as a community member, as a parent, as a former young person, living in Flint and growing up here in the city? What do you see in your peer group? And that's really been able to, make, I think, our members, have a much deeper impact in terms of the things that we were able to do with those members during their terms here, because it would be really easy to just kind of drop the VAT on them and say, hey, these are the things we have to do. These are the deliverables we have to meet. And, we're going to meet biweekly and check on how this is going. But, to really get that perspective has been key. And, that's why one of the things I love about the Accelerator and the whole process is they are really intentional about, getting members of the community involved in national service and not just looking at one area of the community. For example, we have a number of colleges and universities. They're not just at the college and universities recruiting, but they are recruiting, again, the parent, the grandparent, the person who just turned 18 and is fresh out of high school, because they bring a valuable perspective that we may not have, as the host sites and as organizations when we're recruiting.
Thank you. Well, so we've just got a few minutes left, so I'm going to give you all just a couple minutes or seconds, really, each to give us some closing thoughts on if you were to give advice to somebody if we were at the conference and they just walked up to you and said, just give me the one big nugget, the one piece of advice that you would give to me if I'm exploring bringing the Accelerator model or some dimensions of the Accelerator model to my community, what would you offer them? What sort of advice would you offer them? And because we have this sort of relationship, I trust Jamie Lee is already ready, prepared for her exquisite answer. So I'm going to come to you first.
Thanks, Kyle. I would say the partnership is the biggest piece. Everything else falls into place. If you building the partnership with the municipality, if that's what you need, that's what we needed in our case, to get the buy-in from the municipality that the Americorps is going to help move your master plan or your initiative or your blight program or whatever it is you're looking to do forward. Everything else falls into place. If you can get that buy-in from that organization, you can start piecing together, because you can go to a funder and say, I've got this piece and I know where I'm going to get the people from. I'm going to get them from the city, but I've got the city on board. You can then go to, the host sites. Don't you want to be a part of moving the city or whatever the topic is forward? Yes. And then you can go to the residents and say, don't you want to be a part of this? Yes, everything else falls into place, but you've got to have that partnership with whatever that is you're trying to focus on. And in our case, it was moving the city of Flint forward. And without that, we couldn't have been successful. If the Mott Foundation brought all of the money they had in the bank to us, if the city wasn't helpful and wanting us to be there, we couldn't have done it.
And I would add to that in terms of this particular space too, is don't be intimidated. You know, national service, there's a lot of systems in place to help support communities. You do have to learn how to navigate those systems and understand some of the language and the lingo and the cycles and the timelines, but those are not the things that are really going to get in the way of having impact long term. Those are things where you can rely on organizations like Service Year Alliance and your local service commission and other experts in that area. So it really is, going back to Jamie Lee's point, is about what is the need you're trying to fulfill in your community, and how do you bring the partners together to use national service as one of the ways in which you tackle that need.
Great. Sorry.
They both gave great answers. You know, I mean, I would say from my perspective, it's really, you know, one, just be fearless in terms of having those transparent conversations. And it really just kind of plays into what Jennifer and Jamie Lee said. You know, it can be intimidating. The way your idea and the model may start for your community may not be what it is, you know, 10 years down the road, because it definitely isn't what it was 10 years ago for us, but it's grown. Because we have those conversations, you know, we ask questions, you know, we're transparent when things don't work out. And, you know, we've got those relationships, which are all things that they've already mentioned. And, you know, once you have that as your foundation, you're able to problem solve, you're able to pivot, and, you know, you build something so much better than what it was. You know, the first wheel that was ever made does not look like the tire on our club van outside. But, you know, through trial and error and through having conversations and through working through problems, you know, I mean, we have pretty nice tires on our van. So, you know, that's the way I look at it. And I think if you're starting from a point, just understanding, you know, you're learning, it's a learning process. And as long as you have, you know, those partnerships and you know, that relationship as your North Star and your foundation, and you know where you want to go, you'll get there. It's just, you know, being fearless and having those conversations.
Delvin, you get the last word.
Well, I would just tell everybody, first of all, you need to have the willingness to serve the demographic that you serve. Collaboration, community, and convening. And then that's a good recipe for having a good service accelerator for your community.
Great words of wisdom. So thank you, the panel. Thank you for sharing your insights. And for those in the audience, we hope that this has been a helpful and enriching experience for you. I think every panel said the same thing. This is a great journey. If you choose to go on it, pick your place to start. And the folks in Flint are a great resource for you as you explore your opportunities in the future. So thank you, everybody. I'll turn it back over to our host.